Oh, I guess I should clean up around here. Oh! I stepped in shit. This is dumb. Really, 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 really dumb.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Amazingly enough, this isn't the single dumbest version of this, but yeah, if you're expecting to use this defensively, dear God, buy literally anything else, please. Small guns aren't all the same. Some are better, some are worse. Meet worst with a T. Derringers are what's known as any guns. By which I mean, oh crap, I need a gun. Any gun. Fine. The idea was always this wasn't going to be something that you wanted to rely on a regular basis as your only defensive tool. The idea was, in situations where it's a choice between having a single shot and just having some strong words, frequently you would want to have at least a single shot. Playing poker with a bunch of random angry strangers in an 1850s saloon? Grab a Derringer. The first Derringers were made by this motherfucker, Henry Derringer. Yes, his name is spelled Henry Derringer with one R. You spell your name wrong, guy. Actually, we'll get to that in a second. And he was famous for building a wide variety of rifles and pistols, most famously a series of very small pocket pistols in .41 caliber. As if to show there is no such thing as bad publicity, the Derringer pistol became incredibly famous after it was used to unalive our 16th president. To quote Bob Newhart, but other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? As is wont to happen whenever anything is successful, a bunch of imitations started cropping up around him that were doing basically the same thing, but worse. Derringer, being an American first and foremost, started suing, because that's what Americans do, I guess. And to be fair, there were some blatant rip-offs of his design, including multiple that were literally labeling themselves as imitation Derringers. And at some point, like, you're not even fucking trying, my guys. You didn't have to design the thing, at least put in the work of stealing it properly. Derringer starts suing everybody. Some of the early manufacturers, in order to try and get out of being named in the lawsuit, start switching the way that they're spelling Derringer. They add a second R. And despite continuing to sue people up until the end of his days, Derringer just became shorthand for any small pistol. Particularly any pocket pistol, they became known as a Derringer. The original Derringer was a single barrel. Really, the second proper cased ammunition came out, the Derringer company was already dead. But the real thing that put the hammer in the nail of the coffin of the Philadelphia Derringer company was, well, the death of Henry Derringer himself. They were less of a full high-level gun shop and more a boutique manufacturer for a single genius. And when the genius went away, well, the rest of the company decided to pretty much follow suit and died the same year. The year before, Remington had decided to take the Derringer model to its modern conclusion, the same state that you find Derringers in nowadays, or at least vaguely in the same configuration. The 1865 Remington pocket pistol was a Derringer knockoff, except theirs had a new modification that became the new standard for Derringers. Now, there are two barrels. It's a very simple design, and it's not... When Remington designed the first one, they designed it around a .41 caliber rimfire cartridge, and that may be about the same size weighted ammunition, 130 grain to the 127 grain in the 9mm in the modern Derringer, but 41 short had about a third the muzzle velocity. So in terms of energy, it's using about a third the amount of energy that a modern 9mm cartridge is. Right. Firing the 9mm Derringer. Go. Fuck. Go for it, go for it!
Fuck, that hurts!
Okay, let's... Yeah. The recoil of the original was mitigated by the round it used. Recoil is a force that is applied to the gun. It is being applied to the gun and the bullet at the same time. The larger the gun is, the more distributed the force will be when it's hitting your hand, and the easier it will be to control. Demonstrating clear really quick. The smaller that something is, the more likely, or the more force that is going to be imparted into your hand. Which makes this one of the most hateful guns on the planet to shoot. This was originally designed to fire 41 rimfire. It was eventually modified and seems suited to taking 22 as a replacement. This has a lot more kick than 22, and it gets it to the point where at this point I'm going to go ahead and say this is unsafe. And not just because this fucking sucks to shoot, which it does. It absolutely sucks to shoot. But worse than that, the last time I took this out with a friend, I have not been gentle with this thing, to be clear, but I've only put like 100, 150 rounds through it. This is not something I've been gentle with. Opened the card, opened it up, loaded 2 in, closed it, put on the locking mechanism, and then when they pulled the hammer back and pulled the trigger, bullet went out, but there was so much recoil force that this popped open and flipped up. Okay. Painful I can deal with. That just means it's fun to be obnoxious with. Unreliable I can deal with. That just turns it into a fun, weird range toy. If you're shooting this thing worried about the barrel flipping back on you, that is, on a fundamental level, not safe to fire. These are not built well enough to really withstand the forces that are being applied to them. And I'm going to go ahead and say this is not safe, period. I think this has to do with how cheap the construction is. This is $130 if you buy one of these. There is no reason to use this. There is no case that makes even vaguely a tiny amount of sense for wanting to carry this on a regular basis. This is not a safe firearm. Thank you so much for supporting me. I really do appreciate it. Hit that like button, hit subscribe. If you really want to show your support, I'm over on Patreon. That's the thing that really supports this channel and keeps it going. So if you want to make sure that like these videos can get even wilder, that we can start doing more like weird tests and start like developing some really awesome like drills and shit, definitely feel free to support me over on Patreon. That's it would be massively appreciated. I'm also streaming 5 days a week. I'm going to be streaming Escape from Tarkov for the immediate future. That's it from me. Stay dangerous, keep each other safe, and remember, moral doesn't mean legal, and Stonewall was a riot. Peace.